is today we're talking about sustainable fat loss. And problems with most diets, because literally most diets are not good. What's the percentage, Kayleen? It's like
The stat that goes around is that 95% of diets fail, which is
yeah,
a pretty shitty statistic if you ask me.
yeah. And that doesn't mean, in the short term only, it means in long term too. So maybe a diet did work for you, like you did a diet for a month, and then, when they look at you though, a year down the road, you gained it all back and, usually got more. Usually ended up having
Mhm.
more body fat, more fat, more weight and that's what happens to most people, because a lot of times it has to do with the types of diets that people are approaching. So, Kayleen, like what kind of a diet, what would you say is one thing that always makes sure a diet won't work?
Oh, unsustainability is like the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like you can't say the word diet without hearing like the latest fad diet, which I think the base one right now is keto, is like
Hmm.
freaking everywhere. Like, you go to the grocery store, you see keto that, keto this, and
Yeah.
like that one's huge. For those that don't know, the keto diet in general is basically the idea that I mean, I've heard different things from different people, but the idea that you stay under 20 grams of carbs for your day, is that what you hear too? Like
Yeah.
around
It's
there?
generally 50, 20, somewhere in there. There's so many variations to every diet too, because somebody changes one thing.
Exactly.
And so, yeah,
Science
but that's
comes
the
out or
gist.
whatever. But yeah, and so like obviously the rest of your calories you're eating as fats and proteins, which
Hmm.
at first, like from the outside in, I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I could eat steak and butter and cheese all day long,
Yep.
and it seems like a great idea, but you don't realize how little 20 grams of carbs actually is until you cut that shit out of there. Because shit, like even my double serving of mixed veggies was like 22 grams of carbs today. And it's like, oh, that would be every single carb of your day. So anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is that's the keto diet in a nutshell. And it's just so prevalent. I bet like you could reach out and touch 5 people and 3 out of the 5 have tried the keto diet.
Yeah. It's been around for a very long time. It's been a very popular type of diet. And there's not a lot of people that can be successful on it. There are some. There's always going to be
Mhm.
those types of people out there in the world that, so if you're listening and you love keto and it's working for you, good for you. But for a
Yeah.
lot of people, it doesn't work. And the main reason is because it's basically eliminating entire macronutrient. It's taking away a piece of most foods, literally right out the gate. And that's also why, it initially works for results for people. You always hear people, they're so excited they lost a few pounds the first week of keto and they think it's the greatest thing ever happened. But really, they don't realize if you did that with any food group, right? You took out an entire macro profile, something's going to happen to you. Okay. But the results become short lived when you don't have the ability to continue to, have any real type of balance, a normal lifestyle, right? Like now you can go a lot of places and maybe get keto stuff, but like before, it was impossible. And then you think of things like carnivore diet, right? Or vegan diet and all these diets that, they're not considered as extreme in the sense they're eliminating an entire macro, but they're eliminating entire groups of food. So a lot of times what happens, right? And Kayleen, I know you've probably seen this with some of your clients. I definitely seen it with mine over the years, is that coming into a diet and basically not being able to continue to do that diet is going to eventually result in the end game, the rebound, the gain all the weight back,
Mhm.
and that doesn't matter if you can do that a week, a month, a year. If you can't keep doing it, it's kind of game over, right?
Oh, absolutely. And like, I feel like the more strict or like extreme the diet, the harder the rebound. And so
Yeah.
it's like, why put yourself through these crazy different fad diets when there's like so many better ways to do so, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I think another problem with all the diets, right? And there's so many. You guys, like literally, if you go type diet on Google, you'd probably find thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of different diets. And I mean, you look at all kind of literature. I've studied a lot of stuff, in my time as a coach, and this stuff's been, everybody's always talked about a diet from the first books that were ever made on bodybuilding when they didn't even call it bodybuilding. I mean, they're talking about how to eat. And that's really what a diet is. But there's a certain tier of diets that are marketed towards people in the fitness industry specifically for the purpose, I believe, to actually make you unsuccessful. Right. Like, it's a little controversial to say, guys, but I do believe that. I think a lot of diets that come out, they're made so that you fail eventually and you have to do XYZ. Not to mention a lot of these diets that you might see, on the front of the magazines while you're checking out at the grocery store or something like that, they always come with some kind of supplements or some kind of product you have to buy, or it just won't work. Or if your results weren't as good, just buy the $250 kit and you're good to go. So, I mean, it's in a lot of ways, I think a lot of these types of diets are designed to make you fail.
I agree. I mean, it's just guaranteeing a return customer because it worked at some point. They're like, oh, well, that's the only way I lost weight was doing this diet. And so, if I just do it again and pay for all this up front, it's a good marketing model.
Yeah, it really is. And the worst part is when you go about a diet like this, right, that's already, put out there, it's a fad diet, it's whatever, it's on front of a magazine, a coach sold it to you and a meal plan, whatever. You didn't learn anything about nutrition, guys. You didn't learn anything. You might have said, all right, I read the thing. It says eat a piece of fruit and then have a piece of chicken breast for lunch. Okay, cool. But you don't know why. You don't really know what it's doing. Like, do you understand what a macro is at that point?